Calls me to order. First, I want to send out our condolences to the family that lost their loved one today. Let's just keep that family in our prayers. Uh, and in the solid waste district, let's keep those folks in our prayers as well. Uh, if you will, Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Ms. Miller,
Here.
Ms. Harris,
Present.
Mr. St. Columbia,
Present.
Mr. Etherly, Ms. Davis, Dr. Miller, have 5 present.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. Madam Clerk, Treasurer, members of the council, and our audience. This is, of course, our regular meeting substitute. We didn't meet on the 6th, so we're meeting tonight. And we have some guests here, and if we could skip to them first. I know we have the legendary Blues Festival, as well as the King Biscuit Blues Festival. And I guess because the legendary is coming up in a few days, we ought to go on and address it and then deal with the King Biscuit Blues Festival. I don't know that we have any other. We got Mr. Stoner here, and that'll be the hospital, so we'll do him third, I guess. That okay with y'all? Mr. Raymond, you ready? I believe we have a proposed ordinance in the big package you got last week that basically declares an ordinance zone for the one day of the festival, August 31st of 2024. And if you can imagine in your mind, starting over there by the bus shed at Arkansas Street and going down south to Perry Street, and then running it down to the levee here at East, going back south to Arkansas Street and back up. That area would be regulated by this ordinance for that day, and there'd be no vendors permitted who are not already doing business in that area. It would not be permitted during the time of the festival. Is that what you're requesting? And that's on page 63 of 73 of your packet.
Okay, thank you. Turn it off. Thank everybody for this opportunity again to speak in reference to the legendary Blues Festival. And I appreciate the kindness that I've been given by the city of Helena-West Helena in the past to give us an opportunity to have a Blues Festival here in Helena. Once again, the 12th annual Legendary Blues Festival is free to the public. This would be the first year that the Blues Festival is free. So we have had 11 festivals here in this town, and this would be number 12, honoring 40 years of broadcasting. And this is directly associated with Delta Force 3, or should I say more or less KCLT, which will celebrate 40 years in December 13th of this year, 40 years of broadcasting. I don't know. I think we can. I think I want to discuss the security. That's first, I guess. The Valley has actually narrated everything that needs to be narrated as it relates to the city ordinance. But the security is what I'm going to ask for because the festival is free, and the amount of finance that's going to be asked will be very limited. This event is for the city. I think more people need to do more things for the community, and that is exactly what we're doing here. And I'm just asking the city to use I'm using the word security, but to use the officers in this area to help man the festival from 11 a.m. until about 8. Now, we plan to be out of this festival about the same time docking security. Okay? I think we can do that around 8:30. So our plans are to have bands to participate between 11 and 8. So other than I need approval, if possible, as it relates to the security, if you guys can provide that for us, appreciate that. And then the city audience has been addressed by James, and that's exactly what we're looking for, but we would accept anything. As we relate to the city ordinance, why that exists It's because the only nature of finance for this festival is basically vendors. It's going to cost so much to put it on, and the only way you can collect it this time is to have vendors come in, and they will pay just to set up, and they will be able to serve hopefully the thousands of people that's there. And you don't want vendors who feel like they don't want to participate and not pay what your fee is to go outside of Cherry Street and just close enough to cause problems for individuals who are paid to participate. That's what the ordinance is all about. That's all it's all about.
Basically, is your festival the same as it was last year and the year before?
Yes, it is.
And the same amount of territory, you're covering the same, not extending it out anymore?
That's correct.
Okay.
The only extension that we're referring to is the extension to allow the vendors to not be challenged, paid vendors, to not be challenged by people who do not pay. So you're dealing with food trucks now, we're using the term vendors, but now most vendors in events like this is people with food trucks. So they can pull up at any time and stop in the street.
Yeah.
This is a different ballgame. So we just want to protect that area because we are asking people to pay, food vendors to pay.
For a spot.
Yes, for that spot.
And do you furnish the electricity for the vendors and water and all that?
But we're asking them to bring generators. So we have to put up with the noise. All of the vendors will have their own personal generator.
Okay, so they have their own electricity, their own water, and that's the way it's been in the
Yeah,
past.
that's correct. Yeah, that's the same.
Really,
for sure.
you're not asking any changes.
Yeah. Just help secure the area for me and help secure the vendors enough where if they pay for something, at least they can be of more interest in someone who may not, as it relates to selling the product.
Okay. Well, I thought we approved. Didn't we approve your request earlier? And
You know, I wasn't really sure about that. I think you guys did talk about it, but I just wanted to make sure that happened. I think you may be correct on that.
Yeah, I think we did. I'll make a
may be
motion
correct
that
on
we,
that.
again, approve his
Yeah, okay.
festival, and I thank you for doing the festival. I think it's a good idea. Yeah.
We have, but Mr.
And that's this coming,
August 31st. Mm-hmm.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. St. Clement to approve the Legendary Blues Festival. Ms. Davis seconds the motion. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Ms. Davis? Mr. St. Columbia?
yes?
Dr. Miller? Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Etherly?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
5 yes.
Yes.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing. We need more events like this in this community to keep this community going and rolling every chance we get.
If now we can direct our attention to the 37th Annual King Biscuit Blues Festival, Ms. Kim Lister.
Hi, everyone.
Good evening.
We have coming up October 9 through 12, proposed 37th King Biscuit Blues Festival in downtown Helena, Arkansas. There is no change to last year's application. We are going to be doing the same thing as far as street closures and how that is set up. Last year was new for us as far as Walnut Street is concerned. We used to block off Walnut Street to not allow traffic. Starting last year, we opened that up, moved the barricades to the other side of the street, closest to Cherry, and it worked really well. It worked well for the festival. It worked well for Miss Boyd and Richard and Alma McNeary, who is also over there on Walnut Street. Aside from that, we have lowered our vendor rates this year. We've had a very good response to that, both locally and with that throughout the state. However, even though we have lowered those, we encourage people to contact us and open a conversation. Don't just look at the fee and say, oh, I can't do that. Definitely give us a call. We'd be glad to work with you or even come in the office as far as vendors and placement. Security wise, we will be using the same teams as always. We use 4 private security teams, and then we use both the sheriff department and police department as backup. We have spoken with all of those, and we'll have security meetings coming up in September to finalize all of those plans. It's a big application that we do. Does anyone have any questions in particular?
Don't have any questions. Same old as last year.
Same old, yes, sir. The difference is the lower vendor rates.
I move we also, accept your proposal for the 37th King Biscuit Food Festival, be held October the 8th through the, I think it's 8th through the 12th, 9th through the 12th. I make that motion.
Mr. St. Clair makes the motion to approve the King Biscuit Blues Festival from the 10/9 through 10/12. Ms. Davis seconds the motion. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Etherly? Ms. Miller? Ms. Davis? Dr. Miller? Ms. Harris? Mr. St. Columbia?
Yes.
5 yes.
Thank you all. Hope to see you at the festival.
Thank you.
You're gonna get us a wristband? All right, ladies and gentlemen, this one, we're gonna deal with the hospital really quickly, I hope. There was a meeting, I'm gonna try to summarize it, and ask Attorney Stoner to come forward. And the mayor, the city treasurer, the city attorney were also in that meeting. But in essence, the hospital, we've been negotiating the sale of the hospital. We'd agreed to $3 million purchase price of the hospital. And that amount remains $3 million. What changed there is that there's some work needs to be done to the roof. You know, the last time they made a proposal was 2.1 million. That number has been increased in terms of a floor of $2.4 million. And we may seek funding in another route that we're not going to discuss publicly so that we don't get cut off from that route at this point. And so what we need the council to do is to ratify the sale price again at $3 million with an escrow being set up to repair the roof. We'd be responsible for no more than $600,000 of that repair. It may come in at less than that. And there was one other thing that had to be done. That's an environmental problem that's in the report. There's an underground tank, but we believe that our city workers would perhaps contract in terms of somebody that's an inspector could alleviate the environmental concern when there was a leaky tank buried underground out there and get that up. But that has to be completed before the sale can be completed. Have I summarized the facts correctly, Mr. Mayor? Mr. City Attorney, Mr. City Treasurer?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Stone, if you would come forward.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I believe the facts have been portrayed accurately. I'm here for any questions that need to be asked regarding what's going, what the new proposal is. So it's still the $3 million like last time, instead of 900 being held in escrow. We're asking that 600 be held into escrow, and that can be alleviated by any other source of funding, grants, and any other means that we can get additional funding to help fix the roof and some of the other things that were at issue in the report that was given a couple of months back. Any questions for me? And the one thing I do want to make clear, and Mr. Valley said it, but there is a environmental issue that we need to have fixed before there can be any transfer. There's no way to transfer the actual title with that environmental issue of the tank, of the old diesel tank in the ground. That will have to be fixed before the close and the transfer of title.
Well, Stoner, could you address one issue after the environmental is fixed? Approximately how many days thereafter we'll be looking at potential close? That's one of the questions that we've been asked.
Okay. I can't give an exact date, but my clients are wanting to close as soon as possible, 30, 60 days after the environmental. Everything is in place. We just need to make sure. And the reason the environmental has to be done first is we have to have clear marketable title. And that cannot be done with an environmental issue pending. But besides that, if it wasn't for the environmental issue, my clients be ready to close within 30, 60 days.
So the price is going to be reduced from 3 million down to 2.
The price is not reduced. We're still paying the full $3 million, but 600,000, we're requesting it being held into escrow to help fix some of the problems. And just to be clear, it's only about 25% of the amount of problem my client has to fix.
The city will receive $2,400,000, is that correct?
immediately. Upon closing, the city will receive 2.4 million, but the 600,000, if there's any other sources of income that we can get to help fix some of the problems, the structural issues
Sure.
and capital improvements, that will offset the 600. So if we are able to get 600 more from another source, then the city will get the 600 that's been held in escrow.
Okay,
That's the proposal.
now, but we will close this deal within 30 to 60 days, you said, after all
The environmental issue. So
environmental issues are settled.
that's correct. There is a tank that it's in that,
Yeah.
it was in the proposal, in the,
Now, all this is gonna be in writing and signed, documented.
yes, sir. We have a proposed amendment that I'll be sending to the city's attorney. I can send to him this evening as soon as I get back.
And what the mayor was saying was the council to ratify, so we keep going forward, negotiations that we had. Again, the city still will be receiving $3 million. 2.4 million will be made available immediately upon closing. Closing is contingent on getting the environmental issue corrected. And if, as Mr. Stoner and Mr. Valley have said, if there's other sources that assist in the matter, then all that defer to state. Or if for some reason it's not as expensive as the party may think it is. But the 600,000 will be sitting in escrow, the city will have full access to 2.4 million on the day of closing.
Okay. So what do you need from the council tonight? Or do you need something tonight?
A motion? Yeah, a motion for us to go forward with that.
Well, we need a motion to ratify the existing.
Ratify
PSA.
the existing contract.
To say the environment, once the environmental is finished, then we can close. There will be $3 million paid, 2.4 to be available immediately, 600 held in escrow to fix any capital expenditures, with the addition of any additional income that can be made or funds that can be made available by other sources. That will offset the 600, which means if we get any other income coming in, grants, anything like that, the city gets that money
City will
back.
still get it, okay.
Well, the grants will go towards fixing the capital improvements, but that money will offset what's held in escrow. So say there's 600,000, say we get 500,000 in a grant, then we'll use that 500,000 to fix the capital expenditures, and the city gets 500 out of escrow, and the 100,000 stays. And I don't know those numbers, I was just using those as an example. Does that make sense?
So, stupid question, so, because your hospital is a for-profit, then you'll still pay your property taxes, water bill,
Correct.
all of that.
Once transfer is done, all property taxes, things like that will be on the responsibility of the owning party, which is Progressive.
Are they operating the hospital now under the new administration, the new group?
I'm not a part of the operations of it, but it's my understanding, yes. I think that happened as January 1st of this year. I believe the operations end of it
It
swapped over
changed over back January of this year.
of this year, 2024, yes, sir.
I know they took care of me real well when I went out there at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, they did well. I'll make the motion that we'll ratify our agreement.
You said Clement makes a motion to ratify our current agreement.
I second.
Ms. Miller seconds the motion. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Davis? Yes. Mr. Etherly?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. St. Columbia?
Yes.
Dr. Miller? 5 yes.
All right, I appreciate y'all's time, and I will send that. Andre, I'll get you that amended PSA
Keep
immediately.
us posted on the progress, if you will.
Yes, sir. If y'all need anything, once again, y'all, everybody doesn't have my number, Mr. Don, Andre, everybody's got my cell phone number. Welcome to call it anytime. All right. Thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you, Attorney Stone.
Thank you.
I just note for the benefit of our viewing audience we have our new executive director of our Chamber of Commerce in our audience with us, but he said he had nothing to present. That's Mr. Joseph Whitfield. Let's give him a hand. Joseph was a product of Helena-West, and he went off to one of those fancy colleges, and he's come back to assist us in our community. And we're glad to have him.
Mr. we could. Mr. Whitfield, come up and just say something.
The mayor's asked that you come forward and say hello.
You can do it,
Well, you put on the spot. Good evening, everybody. It's good to be here. I've come, obviously, as I'm the new director of the chamber, and I'm trying to stay up to float with just where we are as a city. We have some exciting things that we're trying to get done on our end of the chamber. You can look forward to a survey that will be going out so that we can get our strategic plan together. I have had the opportunity to speak to the last two chambers, Mr. Doug Freelander and Chris Ritchie, and they kind of left me some of their progress that they've had. And I believe that when we go through that survey, that we'll probably see some of the same requests or areas of focus that they tried to attend to back in 2014 and 2015. So happy to be here, and hopefully we can make some good things happen, and willing to work with all of you, because I understand that at this point it takes a village to make this city move forward. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, thank you, Mr. Whitfield. We got a long list on this agenda. But one of the things I was asking you all the last time we met, if I remember right, was this item 7A31, the minutes from the previous meetings. If you all would be inclined to just approve those as a group, rather than going through all of them. And if tonight is not that night, then
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes of the previous meetings from May 7th, May 28th, June 4th, June 11th, June 12th, July 2nd, July 9th, July 10th, July 16th, and July 23rd.
Second.
There's a motion by Ms. Miller and a second by Ms. Harris to approve the minutes from May 7th to July 23rd. Am I correct? Any discussion? Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Ms. Davis? Yes. Mrs. Columbia?
Yes.
Dr. Miller? Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Etherly?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
5 yes.
close. All right, back to the top. These are unfinished items. We can come back to them later if you like. The 6A is the A&P Commission appointees. 6B is the Housing Authority appointment. 6C through G are ordinances that are in your packet that I really want you all to take a little time looking through them before we try to just pass those, although they are, I believe, necessary. 6H is something we need to deal with tonight, and it's not in the first packet. It was laying on your desk. What it is a resolution authorizing the mayor and the city administration to enter into discussions, research, or what have you, to do a bond to pay for the well that is being constructed. Right now, you're paying for that well out of your CDs, which are not sufficient to pay the whole $1.4 million that we're expecting to pay. And so the bond is approved. At some point later, they will come with an ordinance, and you'll pass that ordinance, and it takes 30 days from when that ordinance is passed for the cash to be transferred. So we have to pass an ordinance later, and then get it. The goal is to have that money by October the 1st, if you all approve it, if it meets with what you are expecting. I think the resolution authorizes up to a certain amount, I believe it's 3.5 or $4 million. Part of that is to also consider some items for the sanitation department that they've been discussing and doing separate financing. And just seems to me at this time would be something you ought to consider, bringing it all together, so you don't have all these different payments and all these different challenges that we've been having in terms of making payments. So we'd ask that you would approve the resolution to allow us to go forward with the exploration of whether to even do a bond. But we can't start until you authorize.
What page is that resolution?
Ms. St. Columbia is laying on your desk separately. It should be on the back of the packet that was laying on your desk. It's got a long title.
Yeah,
Yes, sir. But this resolution just authorizes us to enter into negotiation. It does not bind the city to do anything. If you decide not to do it, later you have that option as well. But we can't fully delve into what the possibilities are until they have authority to go forward.
Is there any interest from the body?
Is there any way you could break this down just a little bit? Because I'm going to be very frank with you. I'm a little confused. Can you break this down just a little bit and explain exactly what this is? 'Cause I'm gonna be honest. I'm a little bit lost.
Yes, ma'am. So, what this resolution does, is basically authorizes the administration to pursue, having a bond issue done to build the well and to do any other thing that you decide to add into that by using the water and the sewer revenues to pay for it. So what you're proposing to do, it's kind of like a mortgage, but it's different. But you're proposing to pay for this well, the $1.4 million, by selling bonds to investors who would then provide cash up for you. And then you repay them over a period of time, anywhere from 15 to 30 years in monthly installments. The initial proposal that was made would be that you start making payments on this physical payments in 2 years, because the bond would have built into it a two-year deferred payment. The payments would already be being made by the bond itself for the first couple of years, so that you can make sure you got your revenue straight and everything before you start making those payments on the bond. And the bond is different than, let's say, one of your federal loans in terms of the procurement is different in that you set the rules on how the money is to be spent. The $11 million loan that we have approved can't be used to build this well because we didn't procure it in the way that the federal and state government would approve. That is, we did an emergency, we waived bidding, we picked it next door, we didn't go through requests for qualifications and all that, because we didn't have time to do it either. You know, we at right now, you got rumors going that the tank is empty, but it's not. But the tank is teetering. And so if we don't get that well completed soon, we won't have water for the customers in West Tulsa. So doing the bond gets you past some of that red tape that you have to do a loan. The bond should be low interest, but those terms will be identified once you go through the process of finances in terms of the audits from the water department. They're looking at the recent ordinance that was passed in terms of the revenue they expected to generate. And they look at whatever your internal controls and make some anticipation as to whether you can pay them back. But basically, this bond is one of the ways the city government has been funded for years in Arkansas, because you can't just go down to First National Bank and say loan your money. You generally can't. We do have a 5-year thing where you can get a 5-year loan for stuff, but you don't borrow $1 million for 5 years.
Is there a reason why if we know the well is gonna be 1.5, so I see here not to exceed 4 million, is there a reason why there's that gap?
Well, it's 2 reasons. One is because we can't go beyond what you authorized in here tonight, right? And the other was that you would do some sanitation stuff in this bond as well. You can do the 1.4 million and stop if that's what you decide to do. But if you decide to do your sanitation as well, then you already have started that process. And that's why we moved the number up in terms of the authorization. But we won't be able to do any of this. This just authorizes us to get into negotiation. It won't become final until you pass an ordinance identifying specifically what is to be done with the money, the amount, the interest rates, and all those things. And then we'll bring for lack of a better word, the bond company people before you, so you can ask any questions you may have of them between now and when that ordinance is to be presented. So it won't be presented where you got to decide on your feet. You have the information, have a chance to study it and decide what you want to do.
Mr. Mayor, when you need 2 bonds? Because, I mean, wouldn't you need two separate bonds? Because I'm not sure, I don't believe.
Yeah, one for water and stuff, and one for sanitation, yes. But I think the resolution authorizes you to explore it, and then if you divide them out, I don't think you need a different resolution for that. Because the sanitation will be paid for sanitation revenues if you do one, and the water sewer will be paid for water sewer revenues if you do one.
I think the chief of staff has answered the question from a preliminary standpoint. I think section 8 shows also what the chief of staff is talking about, that the purpose of this bond is, so this resolution is intended to be the city's declaration of official intent of the city in accordance with treasury regulation, and that the city intends to be reimbursed from the proceeds of bond for all the portion of the cost of the project, which expenditures have been paid by the city from the generals or other funds not earlier than 60 calendar days before adoption of the resolution, or if the expenditure was earlier than 60 days before adoption of the resolution, and a cost of issuance of bonds, an amount in excess of the lesser of $100,000 or 5% of the proceeds of the bond or preliminary expenditure as defined in that same section of resolution in the amount not to exceed 20% of the issuance of the bonds. It also, if we continue to read down, it's paragraph C of that same 8 says the entire amount reimbursed shall be a capital expenditure, being a cost of the type properly chargeable to a capital charge account under general federal income tax principles and the cost of issuance. Paragraph D says the city will not use any reimbursement payment for the general operating expenses and not in a manner which is construed as an artifice or a device under the treasury regulation to avoid and hold in part arbitrary yield restrictions and et cetera. And so the issue what we're saying is the purpose of this is to be reimbursed. City spending money, and you're spending money, and the treasurer is CDs, and the purpose is to be reimbursed. You're spending a lot of money. The city is spending a lot of money on trying to keep the water department afloat, and that's what a portion of this is for.
Yeah, the reimbursement is for this well that we built.
Right.
Not just, yeah. So you can restore your CDs, or if you decide to do something else, you can do that, but restore your CD. And let us not forget, we're 400,000 short. We had $1 million roughly in CDs, and we're expecting 1.4 million in expenditures for the well. And so You know, kind of the sooner we do that, the better. As best I know, we don't have 400,000 just sitting anywhere. But this is just a preliminary step. The other thing I can do for any of you, you know, you can talk to the bond people separately to get an understanding. Two of you can't get together to talk to them. And I can get you his contact information or whatever, once this is approved, and you can talk. And, well, you come meet with y'all as a group, either way. But we certainly want everybody to understand where we are and what you're doing. The last time I recall, the city doing a bond like this, the city, they redid the one on 2-cent sales tax, but we did a revenue bond when the landfill was closed. We added $10 a month to every customer of the water and utilities in 2006. And then in 2007, we reduced that $10 off the bill because we moved that same bond to the sales tax revenue as opposed to people paying $10 a month. You remember that, Joe?
Can we, vote on this next week? You know, we have a meeting next week. I'm not ready to take a step forward on this resolution.
It's up to you and the body.
Yeah.
All I do is present it and just tell you it's time sensitive. We got a well going in the ground.
And with this well going in the ground, we need to explore something because one thing that today, so at least the folks on the second part as well.
No, I was cashing in the CD, so we haven't actually made the payment yet, but we received the proceeds from, I had to go to 3 different banks. I had to go to First State Bank, Southern Bancorp, and Partners. And so we have the payments from Partners, and tomorrow or Thursday, I'll go to Loan Oak to get the money from First State Bank. I redeemed about 270,000, and the total payments were 281,000. So we need about 10,000. Because the next available bond was $70,000, and I didn't want to redeem a $70,000 bond.
So we kind of need to.
So I heard you all a little, but not really. So this is for the second payment that you're talking about?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yes. This is for the second
So we
payment.
made one payment of almost 300,000.
Yes.
Okay.
We've done some bond issues before, and there are several additional steps that will take place after today. Approvals and authorizations that we would have to give before it's completed. And I have some hesitations about some of the details of this one. I mean, in terms of the sanitation stuff and all of that. But for purposes of not holding up the water revenue that we need, and this doesn't approve anything, it just approves them going forward. I am in favor of allowing them to move forward on the exploration part of it. And I would hope that at least 2 of you at the table are also in favor. And I say that because I think there's only 3 of us that have been through a bond issue here at this table before, but they won't be able to go out and sign paperwork and get a check tomorrow. It's just not going to happen that way. We'll have to have an ordinance, and there's a bond ordinance, public hearing. There's a lot of stuff that happens down the road. But I don't want to do anything that holds up the water process, given what I know today, what I know the situation to be today. And I've always been in this position since January. We need to move forward on water. So, and again, I have questions. I don't like the number. I don't like that total $4 million number. I just want to take care of water.
Right.
But that's not something that we have to address tonight. If they can sell it, they can sell it down the road, but we don't have to get into those details, into those weeds tonight. And so, Madam Clerk, what number with this resolution?
12.
I would like to move to approve resolution number 12.
Mr. Esther, make a motion to approve resolution number 12. Is there a second? Ms. Davis, second the motion. Any discussion?
What's this resolution?
Number 12.
Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Ms. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Miller,
No.
Mr. Etherly,
Yes.
Ms. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. St. Columbia,
No.
Dr. Miller. I have 3 yeses, 2 noes, 1 absent.
Yes.
Mayor, I have 4 yeses.
Before we leave the thought of urgency, I just want to remind you all, that July 25th has passed. So July 25th was the day that the Department of Health gave us 90 days to make sure that we meet several milestones in the consent administrative order. One being having a qualified engineer, but I just want to rehearse that in your hearing. So you'll be mindful of that there's 71 days left.
We have in here advertising that we want the city council to have some input on. And I don't know if they want to do that tonight, if they want to do it by email, or how they want to do it. But we have advertising for both the manager position as well as the operator. I think they're listed for discussion on this.
So
The plant, water utility manager is listed on page 71. And the water plant operator is listed on page 72. And of course, they have on that draft for discussion purposes only.
And Chief of Staff, if you will, just a moment, we do have someone, a contractor on staff until we get some folks hired with license. So we do have a licensed operator until we get somebody hired. So we're this administration are meeting those milestones. So I think the two things we're gonna hire some people, but as of right now, we got a contractor on staff with the license and everything that we need to kind of get us balanced out until we can find the persons to do the job. So I just want you all to know that we have somebody on staff to do that.
Yes, sir. We have Mr. Caruth from the Bar and Lecture Water working with us. That is not to be a substitute for the water manager that the health department wants you to have. Because even when Mr. Murdoch was here, we had a guy named Randy that had similar duties. But if you go back and read the report, the health department wasn't satisfied with that arrangement for a variety of reasons. But so we need to press forward with the water management thing, as Mr. Saeed Rose is also pressing forward with meeting the milestones that the city council has set for him in order that he may at some point become the water manager. I think we need to proceed on both tracks. So the advertisement, subject to any changes you suggest, is ready to go for both of those. And that's just the beginning of that process as well. And it's also the goal of not just the water manager being licensed, but both of y'all just operators. You got operating in West Island, operating in Helena. And just a point of information, those water operator salaries are listed at $50,000. You paid each one of them about $66,000 last year. That wasn't their base salary, but you paid them about $66,000.
So if we hire someone, and I know that this is urgent for the water sewer utility manager's position, does that mean that, the person who, is working towards their certification, I mean, once they get it, what happens then? I mean,
I think that depends on how you set up the hire. If you hire somebody with the expectation that they groom this person and when he's ready, you transition, or if you keep them both, it just depends on what you set as the expectation. But at this point, that's kind of a discussion you got to have with the individual that you hire, but you got to have that person, whomever that may be. But I think it's the mayor's goal, just to stay the course that he's already set in terms of the superintendent to come to the general manager. So that would be something we could probably talk about in interviews.
And one of the things that I made city council to remind you all of, I recommend you have more than one person with the license, because the city has to keep the status consecutively for a year as part of the consent administrative order. And so we probably need more than one, because in case somebody leaves or quits or anything like that, you need more than one person, because you want to make sure you stay in compliance for the entirety of the year.
What's about the advertising for 3?
I understand. I was talking about budgeting, et cetera, though, to make sure.
Yeah, but the advertising is to hire a utility manager with a license and then 2 licensed operators. As a technical matter, you need 2 licensed operators.
Right, I'm aware of that, but I would say that to make sure that we have it.
To the council, yes.
Okay.
Anybody see anything we need to change in these? Are these ready to go? Take the draft off and send them out. On the water manager, we had mentioned 100,000, but we got in at 90,500. Hopefully we have the flexibility if we need more money to come to you and ask about that. So that being nothing said, we'll leave that as is. And I don't think we're ready on the resolution amending the budget.
Excuse me, Chief of Staff, you said leave it as is. You're saying to go forward with the advertisement?
Yeah.
Okay.
that
I just
no- was that no
wanted
change?
clarity for the record, because
Yeah.
I'm just reminding everyone, 71 days.
We're gonna advertise, we're gonna get somebody hired. So the hospital said we dealt with well litigation. Mr. City Attorney, is there anything to report on the well litigation?
There's nothing additional to a point on the well litigation. We're waiting to hear back from Entergy. I've been talking to Mr. Wyland, and we've been going back and forth, because the discussions we've been having, and just in candor with everyone, is whether Entergy will use the city's purported easement, or whether they want a secondary easement to power the well. And so he's been waiting back to hear from them, because we need to know that answer before we go forward, because we may have to add some things to the eminent domain lawsuit. But we're trying to press forward and get a resolution as quickly as possible. I believe when I talked to Mr. Wyland today, he said we're at least 2 to 3 weeks from completion. There are some factors that they're working on. Hopefully, sometime soon they can get the test well in. But we've been going forward trying to get this going as expeditiously as possible. But I don't have an answer from Entergy as to whether they need a separate easement. But we're working for it, because the well itself needs power. And we're trying to get them to cut that time frame down. Because initially, Mr. Wyland was informed that they may need 6 weeks. We don't have 6 weeks. We need the power when the well is ready. And so what we're working through. He's working through that as an engineer, and I'm awaiting the response from Entergy so we can determine whether we need a secondary easement for Entergy. We went to court. The property was appraised. I don't have the official appraisal, but the testimony, I sent you all the email about the testimony, that the 30 by 30 lots in that area go for 14 cents to 76 cents
A square foot.
per square foot. And when we would have a discussion with them, that 30 by 30 typically costs somewhere between $125 and less than $600. And so when we were discussing 25,000 and 10,000, that was what issue. The appraiser did testify that because we needed that almost an acre of wellhead protection, that may be worth 5,000 to 7,000. He hasn't given me the formal. I've called him several times. He has not given me the actual formal appraisal for the property. And so the 10,000 that the city posted, we have posted it with the court, was more than enough to cover it. We did not have a final agreement because when the Boys and Girls Club, when you all voted for the $10,000, they said $10,000, nothing else. But the email, when I asked the mayor to give it to me in writing, they said $10,000 plus they wanted some credit on some things. And so we didn't have a total agreement. So we went to court the next morning and put on our evidence. And so that's where we are right now. The land itself, the 30 by 30 is worth somewhere between $125 and $600. The other money is for, that has to be 100-foot radius around the well. And because it cannot be used for any purpose, the appraiser is trying to get with other appraisals relating to what is the impact. And so he testified that may be worth $5,000 because they can't use it for any purpose, approximately an acre. When I say can't use it for any purpose, it's designed for ball fields, and it's been designated for ball fields. But there can't be any contaminants close to the well, so it wouldn't affect the drinking water. And so any fertilizers, those things may be restricted. So his testimony was that may cause it to be worth more than the $600. So he gave a rough estimate of $5,000. Chief of Staff with that, he testified, Mr. Wyland testified, and the appraiser testified. But I sent you all an email with all that information in it. That's God's fault.
Yeah, we supposed to do that?
What? Ms. St. Columba, you tell them we need to make an offer they can't refuse.
So you got, the next thing under, Mr. City Attorney, you got litigation pending cases. Is there anything we need to talk about there? Come back to that later.
We can come back to that later.
Okay. We have a 6J honorary street naming ordinance, which is also 732 memorial signage street naming resolution. There's a proposal in the package. I'd just like for y'all to look at that, and we can come back and try to discuss what's good, what's bad.
The planning commission previously approved the ordinance, and it died here at the table over the amount of the street signage. We gave your street sign ordinance a couple of years ago, but it died at the table because the one question that we had that you all were trying to determine that was, what is the amount that they would have to pay? Because the ordinance, part of the complication of the ordinance was how much the person would have to pay, what's the duration of the length of the naming, and how often they had to do it. And they had some specific recommendations relating to the type of person, the background of a person, the achievements of a person who was qualified to have a street named after them. And that was placed in the ordinance. For those of you, three of you were familiar with that, but that one was tabled. It was tabled primarily for you all to further discuss the price for a street naming, the color for a street name, and those things. It was those things that this body never sent back relating to it.
Yes,
I
sir.
believe they had recommended $300 or $500, something like that, for the person to pay prior to when they began to start the process for street name. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
So there's a page 58 of this packet. There was something with some guidelines that include some of the stuff that the city attorney's addressed. And maybe it should be sent to the planning commission for them to look over tomorrow and come back with a recommendation at some point in the future. Because this is just something we put together as a rough draft to talk about, because I believe the clerk has at least 2 families asking that the street be named after some of their relatives. And once you start naming them, I imagine you have other people asking for the same thing. So you want to kind of have some rules and guidance, including how many streets you can do a year in that fashion. You know, there's 2 or 20. You know, how many streets you gonna name? And these will be honorary designations, so you don't change the postal mailing address and that.
Correct. Yeah, the previous orders had all that in it because they studied numerous cities. The planning commission did, and the favorite one was one from a mixture between New Orleans and another city. But we can discuss it tomorrow at the planning commission meeting. The planning commission meets tomorrow afternoon.
Okay. A couple things we need to go back to without going forward. What we have on the new business under the Departments of Water, kind of leak update. They repaired, I don't have a number in terms of the physical number of leaks they repaired. They repaired a bunch of leaks. Our tank is holding steady, but it is not full. So we remain challenged in that area, and that the wells are not putting out enough water to fill the tank back up. I think it's keeping up with usage. And they've been repairing all of the big leaks. And so they've been doing valves and things of that nature that you see, which is where the valve is like a faucet, but it's in the ground. And so we've had leaking valves they've been replacing. We did have 3 leaks the other night, one on 6th Street at Garland, one on 4th Street near Baldwin, and another one in that general area that was pretty big leaks that took the tank down a few feet. And we haven't fully recovered from that loss. We're not in jeopardy of a boil or anything of that nature at this time. So the guys have learned quite a bit over the last year and a half. They're doing a much better job of managing the leaks in terms of maneuvering the valve to isolate the leak so that it doesn't drain the tank. Matter of fact, they'll be out tonight digging up a 12-inch line and putting a monitor on it so they can see if they can figure out where it may be leaking. So they'll be over by, I think it's Doughboy, what we call it, Hoffinger Industries, in that field digging that up. So the leaks are going well. It's costing you a lot of money, which is no surprise by this point to you. And so you have, I think, a couple of requests there on the table that were added for Delta Plumbing. There's one that was left off that came in today for Crawford Plumbing. And then there was some in your packet that were requests for you to approve. And we did get approval from the state of Arkansas to repurpose the $100,000 loan we got to fix some valves inside of the plants to pay for these leaks being repaired, because we just don't have the cash to pay for those leaks at this point. They're probably up to close to $100,000 in leak repair at this point. And so the state approved that, and you have to send in the invoices, and then the state send the money and then you pay as much as you can out of those. We got Delta Plumbing, Quattron Plumbing, and Crawford Plumbing invoices. And what I just asked you to do is approve us paying those invoices. They have documented the work is being done. Most of the major leaks that are visible have been repaired. They're still trying to find other things. And we just keep running into, we got an antiquated system. We keep running into the problems that are caused by the antiquated system. Valves been covered over by pavement, all of that kind of stuff that we're running into. So, we can individualize the approval, or y'all can just, I don't mean to say blanket, but, the guys have done the work, and it's those three contractors that I'm talking about specifically at this point. Quattron Plumbing, Delta Plumbing, and Crawford Plumbing. Crawford.
Ms. Davis, for the invoices, President, plumbing invoices.
A second.
Ms. Harris, second the motion. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Etherly?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Davis? Yes. Ms. Harris? Yes. Mr. St. Columbia? Dr. Miller? 5 yes.
The police department had a grant proposal request that they can't present tonight because of the death that we had earlier today, and it took them away from the preparation for them coming here tonight. So we'll just put it on the next agenda. On the Legendary Blues Festival, I don't recall that we have an ordinance in the packet. I don't think you approved it. Setting the zone.
I saw the ordinance, what do we need an ordinance for?
If you don't, that's it. Do we need an ordinance? We have one. If we don't need one, then we don't.
I've never seen us have an ordinance before on any other.
What he was trying to do is set the zone. So we can regulate.
Approve their
Food truck would be to it. Instead of require people to pass the ordinance.
That's the way it was all the other stuff. They can't do the same thing.
I think we got an ordinance setting the zone for that effect. But it's page 63 of your packet.
Was that attached to his package?
No, he sent us some language and we produced an ordinance and put it in the packet and sent it out.
If you do an ordinance on this, you'll have to do the same ordinance on the blue stuff.
If you like, I'm sure. That's not a problem.
I mean, we've never had an ordinance before.
Why don't we just attach it to the permit? Because usually the blues festival is attached to the permit.
Yeah.
Why don't we just attach it to the permit and then make it an attachment? And that's done.
Doesn't matter to me.
That way we don't have to suspend the rules and publish and do all that kind of stuff that you have to do. So, I'll move to amend the permit that's already been approved for Legendary Blues Festival and add the ordinance description of the zone as the boundaries for the Legendary Blues Festival.
I second.
Ms. Edmund moves, Mr. Edmund moves to ratify.
Yes, amend the approval
Amend
of the
the
Legendary
approval of
Blues
the-
Festival permit to include the description included in the ordinance as a festival zone.
And Ms. Miller, second the motion. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
I call a question, why do we need an ordinance?
You're not doing the ordinance.
What he's doing,
We're just gonna add the description.
My motion is to attach the ordinance to the permit and just use it as an attachment since it lays out a description of his zone. And
You're not calling this an ordinance?
no.
What are you calling
an attachment to the permit.
Attachment,
Yes, sir.
so what's the number of the attachment?
It's just to his permit.
Okay,
It's as if it were attached to his permit.
so the ordinance will read what? An attachment providing a festival zone?
No, sir. He
Would you read
submitted,
would you read the attachment, please?
which page is it?
63.
63.
So the attachment to the permit that we've already approved will be now not therefore be it ordained. It's just in section 1, these are the boundaries of the Legendary Blues Festival Zone.
Section 4.
Section 4, the festival boundaries are beginning, thank you. The festival boundaries are beginning at the intersection of Columbia, Bisco, and Arkansas Street, and then going north to Perry Street, and then going east to the levee, abutting the Mississippi River, and then south to Arkansas Street, and then west to the point of the beginning. Vendors will not be allowed to conduct businesses within this zone unless registered with the Legendary Blues Festival. Section 4 is
Okay, your motion is to take section 4,
yes, sir.
not the rest of this paper?
I mean, it's one document, but we're not passing an ordinance. We're not going to suspend the rules and then adopt the ordinance and then publish it in the newspaper. We're just going to attach this because it has those boundaries on it. So it's for the purpose of section 4.
So we're not passing an ordinance, we're passing an attachment.
Yes, sir. We're not going to go through the steps of passing an ordinance. Nobody's going to move to suspend the rules. Nobody's going to give this an ordinance number. We're just going to say attach this to his permit because it has the boundaries in section 4.
To specify the boundaries.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Ms. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Etherly,
Yes.
Ms. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. St. Columbia,
Yes.
Ms. Davis, Dr. Miller, 5 yes.
I believe we got one other item that we left off, and then perhaps we can adjourn. During the hospital discussions, we had told them in the meeting, we would share with you all a document called the 2024 Economic Impact Report that Progressive Health of Helena has on our community. And one of the things they wanted to make sure you were aware, as you calculate the total impact of Progressive Health of Helena, total jobs, 120, economic impact by payroll, 12 million, non-salary spending impact, 27 million, capital spending, 4 million, total $42 million economic impact to our local community. And so this report was prepared with the assistance of the Arkansas Hospital Association, and it highlights the significant role Progressive Health Helena plays in our community and beyond. It identifies and measures the direct involvement of our hospitals in the local economy and demonstrates the ripple effect of the dollars the healthcare sector brings into the community and the jobs it helps create. In addition, it illustrates the benefits hospitals provide in building a safe, stable, and healthy community. A technical addendum to this report is available upon request, and we have that as well. And since I didn't bring additional copies, I'll get you a copy of the whole report. It's just a few pages, but we had promised them that we would share it.
Mr. Valley, yes, I was supposed to pass it out to you guys at the meeting, but she sent me an email, a text message stating that they were gonna come out with a final report in a couple of weeks. So that's why I didn't give them that one. And they're gonna come out with a finalized version. So I don't think they mind them having it, but they're gonna come out with a finalized version in a week or so. And I planned on forwarding them the finalized version.
All right.
We have in your packet there was a event permit, a call to vote, a voter registration drive, 9/21/2024. The contacts on there. They got that's from the courthouse to the stage. Food and music will be available in a voter registration drive we done that day. You have to contact Ms. Ward and Ms. Rattler, the sanitation, and everybody have signed off on it. So it's going to be September 21st. Courthouse there to the main stage. They have already reserved the main stage. So Mrs. Rattler and Mrs. Jordan's information. So if they get Ms. Davis moved to accept the amendment for a call to vote. Mrs. Harris seconds the motion. Any discussion?
What is the motion? What's the motion?
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Etherly?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. St. Columbia?
Yes.
Dr. Miller? 5 yes.
Let me ask you one other thing. Your regular meeting is next Tuesday? Are you gonna meet next Tuesday, or you gonna move it to the week after?
I won't be available next Tuesday.
I think it would be good to move it the week after.
What about this?
This one? Comanche,
That was the one that was August the 10th.
You want to move the meeting?
It was just in. I'm sorry to get the date wrong.
Yeah.
was it in the packet on the table?
No, it was in it. It was already approved.
And is already approved, already happened?
Already have.
I don't know. When's it for?
I don't have.
It was
August the
a back to school basketball.
Oh, yeah, Ms. Stacker, yeah, we approved it already.
Yeah, okay.
And it's 'cause she
What about the meeting? Are they having next week?
never moved to the week after.
The week after?
So from the 20th to the 27th,
Okay.
that's all right.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, what's the purpose of moving? I mean, just because at some point we still don't have two meetings back to back.
Well, I understand.
Because then if you move to the 27th, the next meeting is on the 3rd of September.
Later week.
Labor Day week.
When is that?
So people just need to vote.
I mean, the Tuesday after Labor Day, yeah. I mean, it's up to the city.
Like, what's,
Huh?
I was just asking, what's the purpose of meeting?
It doesn't matter.
Well, I guess my thought is, we meet tonight, we have a duty to get that packet together by Friday and get it to them. And that ain't gonna happen. I think that ain't-
So when do you want to have a meeting?
Sir,
When do you want to have the meeting?
I prefer you move it to the 27th. So we can get you a packet and you have time to go through the stuff.
Yeah.
Rather than dropping it on the desk.
Fine with me. The rest of
Okay.
That's fine.
27th.
it. So we move the date of the meeting to the 27th?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's fine. I move we adjourn.
It'll be good.